Ahead of the August polls, Kenyans have expressed enthusiasm in sending to office new leaders with anticipations of positive changes in their life dimensions. It is an election that will witness the highest number of first-time voters who will certainly have the debut effect in the process. And the greatest question is, who are the right leaders to send to the office on the polls day, and what are the attributes of good leaders? And that forms the basis of our discussion tonight. And joining me is the mentor Austine Omanya, who is a leadership coach. Thank you so much, Austine, for dedicating your time for this discussion.
And thank you for inviting me here again.
All right, now into the discussion and looking at our country, Kenya, of course, starting from the top leadership, that is of President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy, Dr. William Ruto. And we saw what ensued over the weekend, the public exchange that was there between the two top leaders. So how would you describe the state of this nation in terms of leadership?
Wow, thank you so much. That is a wonderful question. Right now, as we speak, there's a void, there's a gap, there's leadership disparity in this nation. Mm-hmm. And the cause of this is because of masculinity. We call it political masculinity, mm-hmm. that is exercised between different leaders. Actually, I tell you, as we stand right now, mm-hmm. you can see clearly that we don't have opposition. Mm-hmm. Things are going haywire, and there's nobody that can stand between the gap of the government and the people who chose that particular government. Mm-hmm. So there is a leadership gap, and this is affecting our country negatively, mm-hmm. in such a way that the common man mm-hmm. feel the pinch at all the angles. Mm-hmm. So we have to do something. Even before August,
right?
We have to do something.
All right.
Yes.
Now, from what actually ensued over the weekend, what so came out so clamorous was the issue of DP Ruto almost slapping his boss in the 2017 repeat polls. Now, the opponents banked on these statements. Of course, these revelations, of course, they were banking heavily on these sentiments, using them to attack, of course, probably the other camp. So, to destroy, of course, Ruto on the electorate. So, what lies ahead of leadership career of the DP, of course, now that such things are coming out? What do you foresee of the, the future leadership of the deputy president?
Well, practically or basically, what I can say is that I used to admire DP Ruto so much. One thing I love with Ruto is that this guy is very aggressive.
Sure.
Ruto is very creative, and Ruto can be a very strong leader for this nation. However, when they were given the mandate by the Kenyans to serve the interest of Kenyans, something happened in the port, and maybe the temperatures in the port were overwhelming, and he jumped off the ship before they reached the promised land.
Right.
Right? So the major problem we've witnessed is the battle between the Ruto, the DP, and his boss.
Right.
And it has come to public domain. Yep. Why? Because at one time you saw President Uhuru Kenyatta saying to him directly that when tangatanga ukiona Ruto akitangatanga mahali, then you can tell him this and that. Right? That could have told you that this guy, he is not playing his role so well.
Right.
He left playing his mandate long before they could deliver the 10 years Kenyans gave them. For that case, Ruto, by now, what we could be talking about is Ruto the fifth.
Right.
But as things stand, things may be very tough for him. Why? Because of that disagreement with his boss, it has negative impact there. I'm telling you today, if Uhuru Kenyatta could have said, Ruto Tosha, I'm telling you there is no election.
Sure.
Ruto could have been the fifth president by now. But his political career will be affected. I'm telling you, Ruto may not become the president of this nation, but he will be the best opposition leader I'm seeing. So Ruto is not out of politics. Even if he doesn't get the presidential seat, I'm very sure Ruto will not come out of politics. And Ruto is one person you cannot underestimate. But for now, the 49 rules of power, he actually breached one. He wanted to outsmart his boss. And you can't do that while in the office. And that has really affected Ruto and his team so much. So it is not going to be very easy for him.
Anyway, what you said is going to be active in politics, of course, on keeping the government on toes.
Exactly. And I see another thing, Ruto coming in with massive numbers of legislators, the MPs, even the MCs, because right now as we speak, UDA is very powerful on the ground.
Right.
And it is the most popular party, which means if this guy could have just, talked nicely to his boss and deliver the mandate as they had, sat down and planned about this country, with his boss. Right now, we could be speaking a different story.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Now, in the wake of all this, of course, we also had President Uhuru Kenyatta urging Kenyans to make the right choice, of course, when electing the next president. And of course, now this the question that revolves on the top seat. Now, you as a leadership coach, you're a coach of leaders, looking at how the manifestos, of course, of these presidential candidates. What necessarily should the electors consider when they're at the ballot, making the choice of whoever becomes the next president?
Wow, that is amazing. And I think last time when I was here, I spoke about the same. And the same content is what I want to air out today again. In 1789, somebody called George Washington. I don't know whether you heard his story. He's one best man I admire so much. No wonder my mother gave me the name George as my first name. He said one thing, that where there is no vision, there is no hope. The Bible also records in Proverbs 29, verses 18, that where there is no vision, people perish. It is high time the young people of this nation should stand and say, no, enough is enough. Politicians have used young people enough and for ages. The other day I was in another county during the weekend, and then I was asking young people, guys, what are you going for? Are you going for, political parties, choosing people based on political parties, or you are going to choose visionary leaders who can deliver this big county?
Right.
Then they were telling us, no, as long as you have money. You see, if our youth is still reasoning with that perception, then I'm telling you, we still have another generation, maybe in the future, to deliver this country from corrupt leaders.
Right.
One thing that is taking us to the ballot is making a difference, because the future is in our hands. If we elect bad leaders, it means our future is dimmed and we are going to cry for another 5 years.
Right.
Yes.
Now, on that note, of course, it's very interesting that you say that, we need to have visionary leaders who want to bring change.
Yes.
And looking at probably most of the presidential candidates, without mentioning names, of course, they are telling us things that we have been told this years and over time. But there is only one leader, of course, who is coming up with a manifesto that is a bit different from other leaders. When you talk about corruption, he's saying that he's going to hang those who are corrupt. He's saying that he's coming up with an economic model, of course, on how the public debts, which is a great burden to Kenyans, will be paid. So, talking of change, is he the best, or rather, is this kind of the kind of radical change that this country needs? From your analysis, of course, from the leadership perspective.
Exactly. Now, just allow me to give you a limelight of what we need in this nation. We need radical leaders. We need leaders who can do the same thing, but in a different way.
Right.
You see, when we talk about economic models, people are talking about bottom-up. People are talking about, empowering Mama Mboga, Mutu Boda Boda, and sometimes I even cry for this country. If you don't tell us how, and sometimes, if you look at Jubilee government. We gave them 10 years. 10 years. My friend, that was massive enough for us to see the change. But what are we feeding on right now? There's no big change. This government has brought in 10 years. We've done infrastructure. Yes, that is okay. But what about cost of living? What about that Mama Mboga? They are now telling, you know, we are going to do this and do this. The fate of this country is only leadership that is sober. We don't need to bring all these things I've been hearing over the television, or you see snakes, poison. I love Wajakua with one thing. He's trying to make us think. Yep. But exactly. But one thing I want, really, I would have wished to have a meeting one-on-one with him. Is now the how. Because if you tell us that we are going to sugar snakes, then we do this, we do this, we do this. But you remember again, we are trying to protect wildlife on the other end in our country, and we are part of the treaty. So how is this going to be possible?
But again, talking of, maybe just to interrupt you on this, of course, when you say that we are trying to...
I know you support him so much.
No. Of course, we are trying to protect the wildlife, but again, we feed on cattle. We have the beef, mutton, of course, from the goats and the sheep and all that.
Yes.
Whatever Professor is saying, that it's something that it's not now wildlife. It's something that is now domesticated. You have viewers, I have mine.
Yes.
Something of that sort. It's not that everyone is now going on a hunting mission, of course, for the wildlife. Now you are rearing it. You are rearing it, of course, for the economic benefits that comes with it.
My friend, there is a Wildlife Protection Act in this nation, and I don't know whether you've read the Constitution so well, and that is why Professor is really insisting that his first days in the office, he suspend the Constitution. So that the Constitution can give him mandate to practice all this. Practically, he has some sense. But do you know we don't need magics in this country to deliver us from the grave? We don't need magics. We have enough resources for this nation. Right. And you remember President Uhuru Kenyatta saying that we are losing 12 billion per day. Every day we are losing 2 billion, right? 2 billion every day. What does that show you? That we have enough resources. But some few cartels, some political class, some people have said, no, we are not going to allow these kind of guys. We are not going to allow this kind. That's now Mama Mboga, Mutua Moda Boda. The ones they are insisting that they are helping, you know. So I don't buy his ideologies. Yep. But I just wanted, he is a professor. He knows this and he can do it. Right. Yes, to come up with not magics, but how are we going to tap and use the resources that we have in our nation currently. Yes. All right.
Now, it's also very important, of course, all these presidents, looking at this, the card of the top seat.
Yes.
We only have 4 candidates, of course, for this post. We have ODM leader Raila Odinga, we have Dr. William Ruto, of course, Professor Wajakoya, and David Mwahure Waiga. So, all of them, ostensibly all of them, have released their manifestos, and now going forward, of course, now looking still at the leadership, because when Kenyans will be voting, some of them will be voting on the personality. Most of them, probably those who are sober enough, will be voting based on the manifestos. Which probably manifesto, just on a light note, do you really feel that well articulates the needs and the desires that this country has?
Wow, amazing. The only manifesto for this nation is the basic need of me and you, all the citizens of this nation. And my basic need and your basic need, number 1, is food.
Right.
You cannot talk about economy if you have not addressed the exact needs of the nation. And our nation right now is about economy. Our economy is deteriorating. Yep. So I've seen Kenya Kwanza, Their manifesto is good. The one that is touching on the economy. I've seen Azimio and even all these other candidates. The economy is good. But you see all these manifestos, one problem I have with them is that they are always on papers. When Jubilee came, what did they say? Oh, in 90 days we're going to do this, we're going to do this. But what happened on the ground? Kwa ground vitu tofauti.
Right.
Yes, that is what they say. But I see a leadership that is coming. I have a vision. And one day this country will get somebody who will take us to Canaan. One day we shall get one person who is going to make economic liberation.
Right.
And it is very soon. Yes. So economy, how do you change this country? Yep. How do you take us from where we are, depression, where we are right now, so that when I start a business, there's conducive environment. When you take your child to school, you are very sure the child is going to learn throughout his or her life to pursue the career they want.
Right.
That is what we are talking about. And you cannot do this if you don't have money. You can't do that.
And of course, all these revolts and good leadership, because many a times, of course, people will tell you that Kenya is among the best countries on paper. But
Exactly.
now the problem comes in implementation, and of course, now that goes with leadership.
Yes.
All right, now my director is telling me that we need to finalize this.
Yes.
But of course, to respect what she's saying. So it's important, of course, to note that from the previous data that was given by KPMG on the voter register, we are going to have a lot of first-time voters.
Yes.
And of course, some people who have only voted once, or they still the debut effect, of course, is coming is coming to play in these general elections. What advice would you be having, of course, for the first-time voters and the country at large, of course, when we headed to the August 9 polls?
I saw good number of young people taking votes for the first time. That was very good. And I was a voter educator, and I went through so many constituencies preaching the same gospel. And I told the young people that, you know what, guys, the future of this nation lies in your hand.
Right.
It is not about 50 bob. It is not about even the 500 you can be given and ferried to a rally to make noise. Because even if you give me 10,000 right now, how long will I eat that money? Only for a short duration.
Sure.
Young people, as we speak right now, the future of this country is in our hands. And it is you and me to decide what kind of leadership do we want.
Right.
Without a political affiliation, without looking at, who. I want you to look at your future in the next 5 years.
Right.
I want you to look at your future in the next 20 years. What kind of Kenya do you want? And that is a Kenya that is hopeful. I mean, when I give baton to my son or my daughter, they can say they are lived a generation. What kind of generation do we want to leave the baton to? We have to make a difference. And the only way we can make a difference is using that tool, the only weapon that we have, that voter's card, in the right way.
Right.
By choosing a visionary leader that can create a difference in this nation. Right. Because somebody once said this, that strength does not require physical capacity, but indomitable will. Willpower is very important. Mahatma Gandhi put it so well that willpower of this nation, of the youth of this nation, can make us to make a difference. Right. And that is what I'm expecting in the ballot come August. That is just next month, few days from now.
Right.
Yes.
And thank you so much, of course, Austine Omanya, for that great insights. Of course, Kenyans are listening, and of course, they put all these things to perspectives, and we're really hoping that they make the right decision on the polls day. All right, thank you so much for that. We're taking a very short break. Shall we come back with more?